Hey y'all, IrixGuy here. Welcome back to another live show, and this is IrixGuy's live show, episode 90, episode 90, and I had scheduled it for 8 p.m. New York City time, but I decided to go ahead and dial in and get things going here because we got a lot of good stuff to talk about with drones, and a lot of tutorial questions that you've had. So, there's a lot to be discussed during the show. Obviously, I do have the didgeridoo, and this is the sound of the super chat. So I know yesterday I had a few people. I had Gabe. Let's see, was it Gabe and Jake and Philippe? Several people yesterday did a super chat, and I was doing the live show in the field, so I couldn't do the celebration sound. So let's go ahead and do the sound of the super chat here. And, after I do this, anybody else that super chats, and to super chat, all you got to do is click that little button in the chat section. It's a super chat icon, and it'll let you super chat. But this is to celebrate yesterday's super chats. So without further ado, let me blow the didgeridoo here. Because Gabe did a lot of super chats yesterday. Also Jake. And obviously Andrea and Philippe. So that is the sound of the super chat. When we break through $100 US in super chats for this live show, I will then break out the tribal drum. So, and if we break through $200 US, I'll come up with something else really cool and unexpected. So let's go ahead and jump right in here. I know we're early, and we're early. This is just kind of unscheduled bonus content because, I decided I was going to go ahead and dial in early. I know the show doesn't start until 8 p.m. New York City time, but I decided, why not start 20 minutes early? So let's see, what do we have here? Yep, ton of people tuning in. Let me pin the merchandise here. You can get your IrixGuy's Adventure Channel merch. I've just posted a link within the chat, so you should see that. Very cool IrixGuy's Adventure Channel t-shirts. Again, just another great way to support the channel if you choose to do so. So let's see, Mavic Air 2. Ton of Mavic Air 2 content. Actually, I've been editing in the studio all evening. I've got a lot of Mavic Air 2 videos in the works, and also I wanted to respond to Daytona. Daytona had a lot of feedback in regards to the intelligent flight modes. Actually, it's called quick shot modes for Mavic Air 2. So I owe y'all another field test for the quick shot modes because it seems that I should be able to accomplish 4K in the quick shot modes where, if you watch my previous videos, you probably found that I was topping out at 1080 in those. Not that 1080 is a problem, but since I film everything else in 4K, I want all my content to be in 4K. This is not in 4K because it's a live stream, but when internet technologies bless us with the opportunity to stream in 4K Ultra HD 3840 by 2160, as soon as that's an available feature, obviously I'll be doing that. So no worries there. This show, this channel, this IrixGuy's Adventure Channel, youtube.com/IrixGuy. My goal is to improve the quality and to pump out as much content as possible. Obviously, again, being an independent YouTube channel, the budget is limited. So, it's your viewership, your support, and you can support me in multiple ways. You can super chat during live shows. You can support me on Patreon, patreon.com/IrixGuy. If you're shopping for drone accessories, cameras, anything else, check the link within this video's description. You can check out my drone links and then also my other links as well. So, just great ways to support the channel. It's one of those things, I've been invited multiple times to partner up with a YouTube multi-channel network, and I politely refused all of those opportunities. Although some of them, the cash seemed to be considerable, but it's like most everything else in the world. When someone's offered an opportunity and someone throws, let's just say, what to some people may be perceived as a reasonable amount of cash rather, or an even more than reasonable amount of cash on the table, there's often a reason they're doing that. Because, most people that are going to, and I shouldn't say people, I should say businesses, most people or businesses that are going to invest in something, if their initial offer, there's this famous phrase. It's the first person that speaks loses, and that's very true. And anytime that you're approached, anytime that you may be approached by a business, and they're interested in a product and/or service, or possibly a digital asset of yours, and they're coming at you, and it seems to be a very high offer, that should be an immediate warning sign that, hey, there's value here. If people are coming in at at what seems to be a very reasonable offer, you never start out strong. I mean, that's the thing with sales. I mean, you can offend people if you lowball them, and if you go too high, it can have a similar effect. Because if you offer someone something that's too high, then they may be hesitant to sell, because they're like, well, God, I didn't even have to counter, and so and so is already offering so and so amount. There must be something here that I'm not seeing. Maybe I should take a break and think about this. And then there's the offer that is just kind of, let's just say, the normal level. But it's one of those things with YouTube where you get these opportunities. And again, I use opportunities in quotes because opportunities are not necessarily an opportunity for the YouTube channel owner. These opportunities are often opportunities for someone that's business savvy to come in and sweep and rake in digital real estate. And digital real estate being, in the world of YouTube, digital real estate is a YouTube channel. It's a digital asset that people want to purchase because of its perceived value. And that's a very tough thing, because I know a lot of YouTube content creators that they got their first opportunity and they sold, and that's maybe they're happy. I mean, maybe for them, maybe a few $100,000 was a huge opportunity. But those people that are offering that amount of cash, they're not going to do that unless they know they can't make a lot more out of it. So I look at these people that have sold out, and I congratulate them. Number one, it's like, well, that's great. You were successful, and other people realized that, and they wanted to purchase your creation, purchase your success. But the problem is, when that happens, most of the time when that happens, it's a quick done. Boom, here's the money, done, you're out. And you can never have that again. It's one of those things, you take time, you invest resources. I mean, that's time, that's energy, that's money, it's creative thought. You invest all this time, money, and energy into a project, and then you just sell it for a few $100,000. What? I don't know. I mean, that just irritates me. And it's funny, so many people in this world that I know, they're successful, and they've done what they feel are incredible things. I mean, well, God, I created this, and then I sold it for $275,000. Okay, well, what if you had held on to it? And What if, what if you had said no? Would they have countered? I mean, it's just, it blows my mind. And not everyone, I mean, that's, and to go back into this, there's several different types of entrepreneurs. There's the people that are the, let's just say they're the business people. They've got the mind for business. They've got the mind for numbers. They can look at something and say, okay, that is great ROI, great return on investment opportunity. There's people that can look at something and say, wow, that's great because look at this metric, this metric, this metric. Our forecasting, we ran it through our reporting software, and based upon the previous the past 6 months and the past 2 years, we strongly predict that, the next year will likely be such and such. So, when people come in and try to swoop things up, it's typically not an uneducated buy. I mean, people typically don't throw money into a gutter just to see it fall down the drain. That's very rare in the business world. But, it's funny, looking at the different types of people, primarily YouTubers I collaborate with and have collaborated with in the past, just the shock and awe that they experience when they do receive those offers. And to them, oh God, $250,000, $375,000, that's a life-changing number. And for so many people, and it could be, but, if something that's perceived as large as that is not accepted, again, will they counter with something better? Hey, maybe they'll be offended and they'll walk away. But if someone accepts, when they accept, they're in essence walking away from their own opportunity. Because at that point, if they accept it, if they sign the legal blah 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 whatever, and they hand the keys over, at that point they're out. So all the time, all the energy, all the resources that they've thrown into whatever it required to get to that level, at that point they've thrown it out the door. And all that they can do for the rest of their life is look in the mirror and say, was that, insert hypothetical number here, $375,000, was that worth it? Or could I have been at $6 million if I'd held on to it for 3 years? It's one of those things that I always encourage people, don't let something that seems too good to be true, don't allow something to materialize just because it seems too good to be true and you're willing to say yes and sign. Don't do that, because that is a sign of weakness. And this world is it's not all business, but if you know business, well, let's just say you don't know business. And that's the thing. I've dealt with a lot of people that are, they're the creative types. They create really good content. They know how to publish content that's going to receive a lot of views. They get those views, and it's not the product of anything beyond their their quality content and their the viewer's reaction to their content. They don't have any marketing abilities. They don't have any business skills. They're just someone that that has a camera, and they're able to capture content, and they're able to edit it, and they're able to put it up in a public location, YouTube, where people can see it. And as that quality content trends, at that point, John says, I never got a notification from it. Whoa, no notification. Okay, now I sent it out. You're talking about a notification of this live show. So I scheduled this live show yesterday. So I scheduled it on the 4th of June. So it was probably yesterday evening when you probably received it. Check your spam filter, see if it's in there. I scheduled it for 8 p.m. New York City time. So actually, I've started early. So I'm curious if those reminders, that YouTube generates, if they'll hit everybody's notifications here in 4 minutes or 5 minutes, because I don't know. I'm not really sure how that system works, but definitely thank you for letting me know that, because yeah, I mean, that's unacceptable. You know, because I scheduled this show yesterday in preparation for today, and I know you were on the live stream yesterday. And by the way, I owe you another didgeridoo honking here for the super chat. So that's the sound of the super chat. North Carolina, very nice place. I love the Biltmore in North Carolina. Asheville, North Carolina, very cool place. Good restaurants, good hiking, good everything, man. That's a great part of the world, North Carolina. So, yeah, I mean, it's, let's see. It's funny, though, you know, and we'll talk about drones, we'll talk about whatever. Y'all just, you know, type your comments within the video's comments, super chat to hear the didgeridoo blow. You know, and if I get through $100 US in super chats, I will then break out the tribal drum. If I get through $200 in super chats during this live show, obviously, I will then break out a surprise that you haven't seen yet, because I have not broken through $200 US in one live show during one live show yet. So that'll be a big milestone to celebrate if we can do that during this live show. So yeah, it's, you know, it's always disheartening, you know, to see the people that feel something is big. And John says, great lungs. John says, we have beaches and mountains really close. Yeah, let's see, the beach, that's Outer Banks, isn't it? Outer Banks in North Carolina? I've never been to the Outer Banks. I want to go there. I've been to Savannah, Georgia. Max says, the umbrella behind you looks like dragon wings. This umbrella is actually quite, yeah, it does look like dragon wings, doesn't it? That's pretty cool. I'm a dragon. I got my dragon wings on. That is very cool, man. I never thought about that. Yeah, that's the background. I filmed that in it's a place called, it looks like La Village, Levillage, but I filmed that background in La Village, which is in St. Bart's in the French West Indies, and you got to check out some of my videos from there. It was just a really cool boutique hotel, and you know, of course, I got the least expensive room I could. I booked in advance. I got, you know, coupon deals. I got a rental car worked in. You know, did it on the cheap. There were people using the same pool, not at the time when I filmed this video, but there were people using the same pool that were probably paying 7-8 times as much per night as me, because I'm a bargain hunter. John says, yes, Outer Banks and Cape Hatteras. Very cool. I've been by Cape Hatteras. I was coming back in my boat from Bermuda, and I went by Cape Hatteras, but I've never been you know, on shore on the Outer Banks or Cape Hatteras for that matter. I do a lot of backpacking in North Carolina, you know, not far from what's the word for it? Not far from the Smoky Mountains, because, you know, Asheville's not far from Gatlinburg. So I do a lot of backpacking in Great Smoky Mountains National Park. They have wild horses at Cape Hatteras running on the beach. Talk about wild horses, man. I was in the British West Indies on Grand Cayman, and when you're on Grand Cayman, and you go past 7 Mile Beach, it's kind of on the western part of Grand Cayman, and then you go a little bit north. There's these beaches on Grand Cayman that are just, there's no resorts, you know, there's people sitting off in trees just, you know, getting wasted or whatever. And but I took a horse out there on Grand Cayman and got out in the water on the horse. And I've got a video. Let me get this. This is riding a horse in the Cayman Islands Ocean. Let's see, where is it? I'm getting it. Let's see. I shall find the link here in a second. Man, I ran out of bananas. Here we go. I think this is the video. Let me see. No, it's not the one. Let's see. It's right here. I shall find the video, y'all. I shall find the video. I think this is it. No, it's not it. Okay, the third one will be the charm. Let's see what we got here. It's got to be this one. Got to be. Is it this one? Oh, here it is. I just touched my eye, but I haven't, I've totally sanitized. I did have some essential business activities, but, I got back and I sanitized and, hopefully no risk of that stuff that's going around. Let's see, okay, here's a link to it. So this is riding a horse in the ocean. And I'm not much of a horseback dude, but I got, let's see, here we go. So that's riding a horse in Grand Cayman. That was some pretty cool stuff, man. Okay, now I'm going to get back to the chat here. Okay, I got the live chat, the live show. Boom. Oh, yeah. Don't forget to super chat, because when y'all super chat, the didgeridoo awakens, the sound of the super chat. The wild horses are at the Outer Banks. Yeah, man, and speaking of the Outer Banks, I've never been there, but there's a show on Netflix called The Outer Banks. If you haven't checked that out, it sounds goofy to say it's a good show. It's a very good show. It's a treasure hunt show, and it just keeps you on the edge. Man. My bad. Oh, Yuri. Hey. I remember you joined yesterday, Yuri, when I was doing the hike or the walk. And you said, "Hey man, can you give a shout out to Yuri?" And I promised you, Yuri, that today I would do the didgeridoo, the sound of the super chat. So this is for you, Yuri, another shout out. That's Australian for hello. So welcome aboard. And, again, that's the sound of the super chat. So anytime someone super chats, I won't say anything immediately, but you will see the super chat horn rise. And then you will hear the super chat horn. But that's just a super chat celebration for yesterday. I appreciate, again, being an independent YouTube channel. It's y'all's support, your viewership, your super chats, and Patreon, shop my website. But most importantly, it's just about the engagement, chatting and all of that. So, if anyone wanted to mention again, if anyone wants to be part of an upcoming live show and appear face on video, you're more than welcome to send me a message. The best way to get me is facebook.com/IrixGuy, and just say, "Hey man, I'd like to be considered to be a guest on an upcoming live show," and I'll add you to my list because I think it'd be cool. I've got this new streaming set up, and I can bring live guests in. Got an eyelash in my eye, man. Just kind of fell down in there. That's not good. So yeah, Mavic Air 2. Got a lot of stuff with the Mavic Air 2 that I'm going to be doing actually tomorrow. I've got a big cut sheet for Mavic Air 2 videos because y'all have asked me a ton of questions, and I promised everyone to to address your Mavic Air 2 questions within upcoming videos. So I've got a lot on the plate for tomorrow. Max says, awesome horse riding video. You know, riding a horse in the ocean is very weird. Normally riding a horse is not too difficult, but when you're in the ocean, you've got, anything else, even though there's not a lot of waves on that side of Grand Cayman, you've got that rockiness. And then when the horse starts to swim, it gets really crazy because then you're on the horse's back and the horse is swimming, and you've got to balance on the horse while the horse is swimming in the ocean. So, that's pretty crazy. And it's not like, horses are very smart. You can talk to a horse, but, it's still not a situation where, you're out in the middle of the ocean and you can just say, hey man, I want to take a break or whatever. You're attached to that horse. If you fall off, you get trampled, man. You get trampled between, the horse's feet and the bed of the ocean. So, there's a lot of opportunity for accident there. But with that being said, it was a fun experience. Definitely not one of the craziest things I've done, but it was thrilling to say the least. I'm afraid of heights, so you'll never see any skydiving videos or bungee jumping. However, and I don't know why, but I can do zip lines. So I'm going to be doing a lot more zip line videos. Even though there's heights involved with that, for some reason I can do a zip line and it doesn't make me freak out. But yeah, I had a situation I was in. I was only at about 4,500, 5,000 feet, and I was doing some mountaineering. And sometimes, something I always tell backpackers and mountaineers is that, sometimes when you go up, always remember as you're going up to look back on occasion, because what may happen, if you're in a situation where you've got to return on the same trail that you entered from, if you're increasing in elevation significantly, you may find that once you turn around, if you've got a fear of heights, or maybe you didn't realize you had it, once you turn around and look, going up is a completely different perspective than going down. And typically people have, one side of their body, whether you rotate to the left or to the right, typically everyone has a direction that's more comfortable. So, when you're walking up a mountain and then you've got to turn around and go back, what was on your right side is now on your left side. But also, when you're going down, you're at a greater elevation, and then, the side of the sheer cliff, potentially a few thousand feet vertical, is off to the other side. So it can really, if you're not careful, it can really mess with your mind. And I've seen a lot of mountaineers panic, and and that's not a good thing when you're mountaineering and you get, your mind kind of whacks out on you, because if that happens, accidents can happen. So, for that reason, always be careful when you're mountaineering. Always be careful who you're, know who you're with. And don't just encourage those people to periodically turn around and just kind of do a sanity check, perform a sanity check. But, make sure they actually do it, because, there's nothing worse than going out with a group of mountaineers and having one mountaineer in that group that gets kind of panicky because, they realize that, oh man, this is pretty intimidating. Going in the other direction is pretty intimidating, and and I've had that happen. And it's the Smoky Mountains, the Appalachian Mountains, they're not huge, but they're nothing. They're not wimpy mountains. I mean, they're tall. And when you get up on some of those trails in the Smokies, you've got a few thousand feet straight down. So if you can't handle that mentally, I mean, sure, the trail is the same size, narrow trails, hiking trails. But if you're not accustomed to looking down a few thousand feet when you're hiking, it can really mess with your mind. So, be aware of that. And the Rockies are a completely different animal. Rocky Mountains are, totally, it's a different landscape. Obviously, it's a lot more rocky, a lot less trees. So when you're out there, the Rockies can even seem to be more intimidating than the Appalachian Mountains. But yeah, always be careful when you're choosing your mountaineering partners. Max says, did you see the movie where the guy free soloed El Capitan? El Capitan, actually I did. Was that on Netflix? It was a documentary. I think I did see that. It was very cool. There's another one called, what's the name of this one? It's called, I'll think of it here in a second, but it's not mountain climbing, but it's spelunking. And I think it was out in Utah. It's Descent. The name of it is Descent. If you wanna watch something that'll freak you out, so I'm not going to ruin the story. I'm not going to tell you how it ends. But Descent, it's these two people, and they go down in. They call it the Nutty Putty, and the Nutty Putty was a cave. I think it was out in Utah. It's been closed now, and I'm not going to say why. But you need to watch that because these spelunkers go down in the Nutty Putty, and that's all I'm going to say. Watch it. It's good. It's good. Daytona, evening Irish guy. Do you have a favorite flight location? Actually, I do. My favorite place, and the reason being is that I like, it's kind of risk reward. Every time I fly my drone, I expect to lose it, but obviously it would be in a safe and responsible location if I did. With that being said, as a viewer of drone videos, you want to have something that makes you feel kind of on edge. So you want to have flights that are close to objects. You want to have flights that are close to the water. Flights with, safe and responsible and legal elevation, but shot in a way to where it, makes you feel like you're falling. So for that reason, Daytona, to answer your question, my favorite flying location, I do a lot. One of the things I love to do is get out on my boat and, in the Caribbean, not the mainstream islands, but what I like to do is get offshore and go to those tiny uninhabited islands and drone the heck out of them, because it's so cool. Because typically you're the only person there, and the only way to get to shore in most of these places, because they don't allow you to drop an anchor, you've got to tie off to a mooring buoy. Typically the only way to get to shore is to swim, so you got to put your drone in a dry bag. So there's the risk associated with, hey, do I trust my dry bag? You've got that unknown. You got to swim to shore, then you've got to film it, then you've got to land it, and then you've got to pack it all back up and swim back to your boat. And that's one of my favorite flying locations. Max Kobasa says Alex Honnold. Yuri says hiking would be hard to me. Asthma will attack. Actually, you say asthma will attack. One of the best things about hiking is getting that fresh air, because when you're at elevation and you're out in the wilderness, typically there's a lot less pollution, and it's but also because of the elevation, to your point, the air is thinner, so that could pose to be problematic for sure. Jake says, Good evening from Kingston from me and my sisters. Jake, welcome back, man. I owed you a celebratory didgeridoo. That, my friends, is the sound of the super chat. And I've already blown the didgeridoo for Gabe. He made a lot of super chats yesterday during the live show, not in the studio, but the live show while I was walking. So anytime you choose to super chat, you will hear the sound of the super chat. And if we can get through $100 US during this live show, then I will break out the tribal drum. If we get through 200, there'll be another surprise. So just a reminder for everyone. Max says, I will watch Descent. Definitely recommend it. Now, if you're claustrophobic, it may not be a pleasurable thing to watch. So, just keep that in mind. Oh, Yuri. I said I wasn't going to spoil the story. Well, yeah, Max, don't let Yuri's comment encourage you to not watch. That you just got to watch it. Did he really die? Did he? Maybe he didn't. Maybe just watch it and figure it out. Jake says, I can't mountain climb. I'd end up having a serious seizure. Jake says, hee, thanks. You are getting better. Keep up your practice. I appreciate it, man. It's the only way to practice this thing is to get those super chats. So I get the super chats. I get to improve the didgeridoo skills. And actually, after $100, I get to start improving the tribal drum skills. So that's always cool. But, yeah, we're open for, we chat about whatever here. Tutorial questions, drone questions, comments. Obviously keep everything appropriate and profanity-free for all age groups. Yuri says, man, I wish I could donate some. Hey, man, I understand completely. These are extremely unprecedented times that we're in right now. So, again, the super chats and the shopping for drones on my channel and supporting me on Patreon, patreon.com/IrixGuy, that's all encouraged. But again, it's not expected. I'm here to have a good time. I'm here to entertain, but I'm also here to remind everyone that, that those opportunities to support the channel do exist. But again, I completely understand that a lot of people aren't in the position to be able to support, which is completely understandable. Jake says, oh, you want to know how my UAV net landing experiment went? Yeah, definitely. You told me to remind you about that. How did the landing go? Jake's talking about military drones for Canada. Canadian military. Man, Canada's awesome. They've got the best. They got some really good food up there, man. Super duper good food. They've got some funny accents. And we all got funny accents if you're not. Max Kobasa says, what is your drink today? Actually, my drink today is a little bit disappointing because they were out of bananas. So I didn't get bananas. So I've got mango juice, and then I've got pineapple juice, and then I've got ice, and then I've got it's not a sipping rum, it's just a good, not high end, I mean, it's very affordable, but it's a rum from St. Croix, which is really good. I mean, a professionally made rum, but it's not the higher tier to where you would sip it, it's one where you would mix it with a drink. But this is extremely good. I wish I had bananas, though. Actually, I wish I had some bananas and some star fruit. I love star fruit. Star fruit or dragon fruit. Jake says, it went okay with my U.S. pointer UAV. It landed perfectly, but not my Chinese ASN-1. It missed the net. Interesting. Very interesting. I wonder why the Chinese ASN-1, what caused it to miss the net? Is it not as easy to fly, or is it is there something else that's involved with that? Max says it sounds better than a pina colada. Actually, I made a pina colada earlier. Something I'm going to do, but I didn't have any coconut cream, is make a BBC. That's got Bailey's banana. Actually, just like it says, Bailey's banana and cream, coconut cream, BBC. So, but because I couldn't get the coconut cream, I'm not drinking a BBC. I'm just drinking this. Daytona says, have you ever had anyone have a go at you for flying your drone? Oh, yes, sir, I have, and I will tell you the story. Actually, I'll tell you the most recent story first. It's not as crazy, and then I'll tell you the crazy one. So, the most recent story was only a few days ago, and I was flying a drone, obviously safe, responsible, legal location, not flying over people, always been safe, maintaining visual line of sight. But, there were several boats, and, it's fun, especially with the Mavic Air 2, it's fun to track objects, especially out over the water, because, you can do the quick shot modes. You can do manual flying. You can do the pinch and do the active track. There's so many things you can do. So there was a boat in the water, and I kept circling it. I was doing the circular flights. I was doing straight up and straight down. I did some quick shots, and I guess I was doing it because the battery life on the Mavic Air 2 is so outstanding that I was doing so many things that I guess this boat owner thought I was spying on him or whatever, because it was him, and I didn't realize it until I get to where I'm going to go. But it turned out that, so after I did that, they started moving, and they started moving to where I was, and they pulled up within about 20 feet of me, and I just waved and said hello. I'm still flying the drone. I'm keeping, visual line of sight with the drone to be safe and responsible and legal. And I said, how's it going? They never said anything. And I saw it was a guy, and I guess it was his wife or girlfriend or maybe his mistress. I don't know. But he never said anything. So I know now that, he was coming over to confront me. And apparently, I guess he just saw me and said, this dude's just a, goofball having fun or whatever. And he didn't want to get into it. Because, I'll get into it. I don't care. I will be very polite, but I will, let people know that, hey, this is my body of water too. And, I'm not directly over your vessel. I'm out over this body of water, and it just so happens that there's an object down there, which I can't see your faces at all. But there happens to be an object down there that I'm using as as an object to track and test out all of these intelligent flight modes. So that never led to a confrontation. The thing that did lead to a confrontation, and this was very interesting, you've seen the videos where I'm out in the field. I do my field test, big field, nice grass, immaculately groomed. So a guy apparently felt that field was his. And, I was out there. I had this was a few years back. I had a truck, driving it out in the field, and I was doing some of the active track. I think it was Phantom, was it Phantom 4? I'd have to look back. But they did, I knew something was up because I saw this guy in his yard, and he was kind of looking at me. Your typical person that has a very pessimistic outlook at life. They're miserable, and they're just trying to bring everybody else down, spread their misery. And, it was that type of situation. And so I'm flying my drone, and finally he comes out there, and he starts cursing me. He walks out in the field, a few hundred yards to come talk to me, and he doesn't say, hey, how are you doing? He just immediately starts cursing me, and then he says, after cursing me, what are you doing? I said, I'm just, flying my drone, having a good time. And then he says, well, you're driving through my field, man. You're driving through my field. And I said, oh, this is your field? And he looked at me, and I said, no, I said, this is my field. I said, it's our field. It's a community-owned field. And he said, well, actually, yeah, you're right. It's not my field. I said, well, you just told me it's your field. I said, it's not your field. And then he said, well, you're a beep, 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 you know, calling me a smart aleck or whatever. And you know, I won't repeat all of that because I got to keep this channel clean. But so he said all that, and then he just walked off fuming because he realized that he had been talked down to, and that he was in the wrong, and he made himself look like an idiot. So then a few minutes later, as expected, the policia, you know, sirens and all that stuff. Policia roll up, and they don't talk to me first. There's a guy at the other end of the field that was parked in the field. He was hitting golf balls because it's a big field, you know. He's hitting golf balls out there, and the police come up and talk to him. And after they talk to him, I notice that he moves his car to the side of the field. And then the officer comes up to me, and I'm flying my drone, and I look over, and I'm like, you know, I start talking to him, and he's really nice. You know, he didn't care. He just said, you know, what are you doing? I said, oh, I'm maintaining visual line of sight to be safe and responsible. And then, you know, after I landed the drone, he said, you know, he wanted to check it out, and he was curious about it. And I said, that's cool. But then he said, yeah, he said, man, he said, I hate to say this, but, you know, you've got to you know, park in the field. You know, we've had some people tearing up the field. And I said, yeah, I said, I wasn't. I said, admittedly, I said, I was out here driving around because I was chasing the truck with a drone. He said, yeah, he said that, you know, he didn't care. But he said, yeah, just park on the side of the field. So you'll notice in all my recent videos when I do the field tests that I do park on the side of the field. You know, I'm not here to break rules, but, you know, I am here to put people in their place. And that guy that came out and Jake says the popo, as I call him. So yeah, I mean, it's Yuri says, haha, he faced the wrong person. And then Daytona says, good for you, mate. Always stand your ground. So yeah, speaking of standing my ground, I mean, that's how it all played out. And you know, I didn't say anything. I never degraded the individual for, you know, I could have said, you know, you need to calm down or whatever. You know, this is inappropriate. You know, your behavior is inappropriate. I never said anything that could have been perceived as confrontational. And I think that's why they were so irritated because, you know, I feel that I can effectively deal with negative people. And that negative person, you know, their plan B, because they didn't receive the reaction that they wanted to receive after confronting me. You know, their plan B was to call the police, and, you know, doing that, they still didn't get what they wanted. So since that happened, and I'm always there, and I see that person out in their lawn doing stuff, being miserable with life, they never confront me. So if they do, I mean, that's fine. It's my field too. So, you know, I can do what I want to do. And, you know, I'm a licensed drone pilot. If I want to do a hobbyist flight, if I want to do a commercial flight, I can do it. You know, I've got all the rule books. I've taken the class, I've passed the test, and I'm licensed and I'm current. So, you know, there's no issues there. And if they want to make a stink out of it, they can. I mean, Daytona, to your point, I mean, great question. I mean, I don't let negative people ruin my fun, because this is not just fun. I mean, drones are an industry that have not yet been completely realized. So, you know, even though a lot of us may be hobbyists, you know, we're part of something that is still in its infancy. And, you know, I think a lot of things like the low altitude approval, notification, and then the C. Low altitude authorization, notification, not certificate. It's not system. It's something like that. It's a C word. But anyway, there's signs that the drone industry is about to take off in a big way. So, you know, all of us that are hobbyists, I mean, ultimately, I'm a hobbyist, but I do own and operate multiple businesses, and some of those businesses are related to, to drone technology. So, I think we're on the cusp of something great right now with drones, because I think we've gotten through the newness. People aren't, you don't have as many of the idiots out there. It's like, oh man, there's a drone, and how can I misuse this? That the newness of drones has worn off. Now what you've got the hardcore hobbyist, and you've got the professionals. And I think we're seeing now at a national level that, the ruling bodies, the governments, are starting to figure out, hey, how can we safely and properly introduce drones into the airspace for commercial purposes? So we're on the brink of something really big here. Daytona says, great attitude and the best way to handle people like that. Dude, here's the thing. People like that, number one, anyone, and I don't want to overgeneralize, but most anyone that confronts someone else, they're doing it because, number one, they're miserable, and number two, they want a reaction. And when you don't give those people the reaction, that's the biggest slap in the face, because they want the reaction. So, you can be the best argumentative person in the room, and you could probably put them in their place by arguing, but they're still going to get pleasure out of that. So if you just completely, not ignore them, but acknowledge that they're there, but just don't react in any, don't show any form of emotion, that's the best way to get at people like that. And it's just, I don't know. And obviously in my mind, I'm getting pleasure from seeing them, thinking that, oh, they're coming up, they're going to put somebody in their place. I'm getting pleasure out of seeing them doing that, number one. And then number two, not getting the reaction they want. And then number three, they're going to their plan B, and then their plan B fails. It's I don't know, it's just funny. But Jimmy says, people see you flying and think you have 100 times zoom and are spying on them. They know nothing about drones. That's my thoughts. Hey, Jimmy, that's exactly right. There's people that think that way, and there's also people that don't necessarily think that's true, but just to provide justification to create an argument, to start an argument, that they'll go with that assumption. It's crazy. Jake says, on CFB Trenton, you can't fly drones at all around the airstrip. This applies for all Canadian and American military bases. So do you have American military bases in Canada too? Or is it just Canadian air bases? Daytona says, do you think Amazon will deliver our future drones by drone? Honestly, I think, and again, I think the LAANC, the low altitude authorization or approval notification, something that's C word, I forget what it is. That acronym, basically what you can do in permissible locations that may require, that in the past might have required a waiver, and typically that could take up to 90 days to receive an answer. Is it approved or is it not approved? LAANC provides almost instantaneous permissions to fly in a lot of locations. So I think, and this has been around for a while, I just recently started using it, but I think that with that, to me, that signals the loosening of restrictions when it comes to commercial uses of drones. And I think that the next logical step will be ways that they can, not just the United States, but a lot of countries, that they can integrate unmanned aerial vehicles into the national airspace for drone delivery. See, the big challenge now in a lot of countries is that the requirement to maintain for the pilot, the remote pilot in command, to retain visual line of sight with that drone, that makes it impossible to perform a drone delivery, because in that scenario, that remote pilot, the remote operator in command, the person flying the drone, would have to maintain constant visual line of sight. So for that to happen, they would have to have, someone else drive a vehicle, and they would have to maintain constant line of sight, which negates the value of drone delivery, because in that scenario, you've got the drone delivering something, but then you've got to have an operator maintaining constant visual line of sight with it. So if they can figure out how to, capability, that's the C word. Max, that's right. Capability, that's the C word I was looking for. So yeah, if they can figure out how to do away with the visual line of sight requirement, I think drone delivery is going to be, I know drone delivery is going to be huge. And, not to put the pandemic into any sort of positive light, but I think the pandemic is a perfect push to encourage leadership throughout the world to try to identify ways to integrate, to loosen their laws and integrate drone delivery into their national airspace. And, because contact-free or contactless delivery is a big trend now. You're trying to minimize contact. You're getting groceries. You're getting curbside pickup. You're getting food. You're getting to-go order. You're calling it in. You're paying in advance, and that contact with the restaurant is minimized. What better way to minimize contact than to have a package delivered by way of a drone? Obviously, if you're ultra paranoid like I am, you're probably still going to want to scrub that package when it arrives, because hands touch that package prior to arrival and it could have the virus on it. But I think now, because of the pandemic, I think it would be a great opportunity for governments throughout the world to say, hey, we're going to loosen our grip upon drone regulation, and we're going to say, hey, what can we do to make it permissible for authorized companies, companies that have licensed drone pilots, what can we do to make it permissible for companies with licensed drone pilots to legally deliver their products by way of drone? And I'm hoping it'll happen. I remain optimistic that it should. And, as far as, drones are battery operated. So as far as pollution, you don't have the fossil fuels. You've got something that's very small, very lightweight, clean energy. It's not a, obviously there's a risk of crash, but any airplane, whether it's a big insert whatever, transport company here, they're flying those big cargo planes full of boxes. Those planes can crash too. So, it's an aircraft that doesn't have a human in the physical cockpit. Yuri says, I hope Amazon will deliver to the Philippines too. Jake says, and I'm in the Canadian military and have worked with U.S. NATO troops in training operations. Jake says, LAANC restricts drones around military bases and other restricted areas such as the world-famous Area 51. Groom Lake, Area 51 is not where the good stuff is. It's at is it S1 or S4? At least it was at one point. Daytona says, over here in England, they just experimented flying a drone across the English Channel and delivered medical supplies to France. That's very cool, man. That is very cool. That English Channel is pretty big, isn't it? It's a few miles wide, isn't it? I've never been to Europe. that's a place I want to go after this pandemic clears. I want to go over there and, you know, take my drone and do some drone videos, and probably go to France, man. I love French food, man. Jake says, look at my above comment to adjoining vom. Hey, no problem, man. Spelling errors happen. We don't we don't live in a world of autocorrect that actually properly autocorrects. So, yeah, something else you know, aside from drones, something I'm working on here. And again, I'm always, being an independent YouTube channel, I'm always trying to find ways to improve the production quality. So I've got the camera down. I've got to work on these lights, man. I've got some, there's these new types of lights that have come out. They're not soft boxes, but they're called LED soft panels. So, let's see, I had a window pop up. Oops. So basically what they are, they're green screen lights, but they don't require a softbox. So like these, and I'll pull out my other camera in a minute and give y'all a walk around the studio. I got some enhancements in play. But they do, you know, it's like a flat panel, like a monitor. So you've got something about that thick, about that tall, about that wide, and you don't have to deal with the softbox, but you still get the softbox type look, which is really cool. Yuri says, uh-oh, I'm low on battery and need to recharge. Bye, be right back. Jake says, if states that I know, U.S. and Canadian military protocols on drone restrictions. Aha. Let me pop out, hold on one second. Y'all don't forget to super chat because I got to blow this didgeridoo. I'm getting my walk around camera here for y'all because we got to do a. I got to show y'all I promised y'all an updated tour of the IrixGuy's Adventure Channel studio. Now I don't have the YouTube silver play button yet, but as soon as I hit 100,000 subscribers, I will have that trophy on the wall, and I've already got a place for it. I'll show y'all where it's going to go here in a second. Let's see here. Got to get into my app. There's so many apps on these things, man. It's crazy, crazy, crazy. Let's see if we got it here. Aha. Ooh, there we go. There we go. Going to allow the camera. Bingo! Bingo! And we're going to do change audio. We are going to change this audio to here we go. 1 2 1 2 testing 1 2. Okay, here we go. Gonna flip this sucker around here, and we're gonna go for a tour of the studio, y'all. A tour of the studio. So this right here, and I'm gonna start at the front entrance here to the IrixGuy's Adventure Channel studio. So we got several enhancements that have been put into effect. So this is entering the studio here. You can see I've got my talk show desk over there. I've got a drink and my live streaming laptop. Some of the enhancements I've added, that right there has been there. That's a voice activated device, so I can recite the command for the A word. I'm not going to say it because it may activate your digital assistants too. But I can just say, hey, A word, you know, turn green screen on or turn it off, and it'll do that. These things right here are really cool. I'll be doing a review of this. I put these throughout the studio. I've got 6 surge protected power plugs, but I also have 2 USB-A's and 1 USB-C. So I've strategically located those throughout the studio to provide power and surge protection. Whoa, that was a didgeridoo falling. At least it didn't knock the camera over. So this area right here looks kind of weird right now. This is a purple carpet. But this is going to be very cool. This is going to be a new set. So what I've got coming here is the sofa I was telling you about, the Chaise Lounge. It's a Chaise sofa. So what it's going to have, on this side, it's going to have a Chaise chair on this side. And then over here, it's going to have like 2 sofa seats. And then what's super cool is this section right here. This Chaise, so the Chaise Lounge is like right there. It's built into the sofa. So it'll extend almost all the way out to the carpet. So it's like that. And then it goes up against the sofa. And then this part of the sofa is just, you know, a sofa like you've normally seen. So it'll run up to the wall. That outlet will be exposed. So, you know, if I need to charge USB devices, whatever, I can do that. But then this area here, that'll be cut out, you know, where I can put a coffee table and create another set. If I'm sleeping in the studio, underneath that side, underneath these, not the Chaise part, but underneath these 2 parts, the sofa chairs will pop out, and then there's this little piece that comes down, and it turns this entire thing into a bed. So it's a sleeper sofa, but it doesn't have that chintzy, you know, springs in your back type feel, because again, you've got Chaise over here, which will be about that way. So the only part that's popping out is just this little square right here. And I can't wait. But it's ordered. I'm a haggler, man. I got a good deal on it. I mean, I got it super cheap. It's high quality furniture. So I can't wait to get that. That's really going to upgrade the quality. This right here, there's going to be a matching sofa chair. It's going to go right here. So I'm going to have several different sets. Obviously, I've got the high-end rum area. Over here, I've got the beer steins, and I've got Bombora. This is from Turks and Caicos. Picked that up in Turks and Caicos, Providenciales. Picked this up in Jamaica. Not a higher, it's a higher end. It's not the highest end, but it's the Appleton Estate 12. Very good quality. This one right here is a beast. Haven't even opened it yet, but I will to celebrate a future YouTube milestone. This is the Appleton Estate Master Blender's Legacy. Even though this is made in Jamaica, I picked it up in St. Kitts. This right here I picked up in St. Thomas in the United States Virgin Islands. This is a Ron Zacapa. It's a Sistema Celero 23. Producto de Guatemala. This is a Guatemalan rum, very high-end rum. This one right here I picked up in St. Martin in the French West Indies. This is made in Barbados. This is a very nice 1703 Mount Gay old cask selection from Barbados. Just a very premium rum. Great sipping rum. If you want to have a few sips of something that just tastes like candy, it's super good. This right here I picked it up in St. Thomas. This is Angostura. This is from Trinidad and Tobago. This is 1919. This is a very high-end sipping rum. I've had that for many years. This is for 100 million video views. So this right here is the Gosling's Rum's Family Reserve. This is the Black Seal rum. You can see the Black Seal. It's not a seal like the animal, like a lot of people think. The Black Seal refers to the black seal, the wax seal on the bottle. See, it's got a black wax seal. But this, once I achieve 100 million video views, I will open this and sample it on the channel. This particular rum I brought back from Bermuda. I decided I was going to bring... I was in Bermuda for a YouTube collaboration with STK's Adventure Channel, and I decided I was going to bring something back that I could celebrate with in the near future, and that milestone. And again, 100 million video views is not the end. I mean, that's just the beginning. But once I hit 100 million video views, I'll tap into that and I'll let y'all know how that is. So yeah, studio's coming together. I've still got these right here, the softbox lights, the bigger, as I'd mentioned, the bigger lights, but I'm going to replace with the panels, the softbox LED panels, so that potentially I can eliminate the big softbox and then also the big softbox here, and then also the big softbox over here. And what I want to do with this, I've got a stud finder right here. You can see it stuck to the wall. So there's a stud right there. What I want to do is mount a light stand mount to this. So when I get, and again, because of the pandemic, these things are in short supply. But when I get my hands on the LED soft panel, I'm going to put a light stand mount there, and instead of having this crap in the floor, I'm going to have it mounted on the wall, and then likewise that one over there. So I'm going to make this look really clean. Clean is important. When you're dealing with presentation on YouTube, you want everything to look clean and professional, because clean and professional doesn't have to mean expensive. It just means you want to look, and I'm not saying fake it before you make it, because that's not the case, but just look as good as you can. Look as good as you can within budget, and keep your targets. It's like, well, once I achieve this is my next upgrade. I've done a lot. I've put a significant, for me, for this channel, for IrixGuy's Adventure channel, I've put a significant amount of money into this studio. Let's see. Daytona says Dover in England to Calais in France is nearly 30 miles. That's a long drone flight. The drone they used has a range of 1,000 kilometers on one tank. Wow. Jake says, hey, my sisters get to see your studio for the first time. They like it. Very cool. Daytona says, very cool studio. That's the one thing when I was walking around giving y'all the studio tour, I didn't have my chat up, so I'm catching up. Jake says, I need to make my own home studio for live stream so I can talk live with my subscribers or possibly with other streamers like yourself. Dude, send me, seriously, if you want to be part of an upcoming live show, send me your email address if you want to through facebook.com/IrixGuy, and I'll try to see if I can get you and or some others face on video as part of an upcoming live show, because that's the software that I'm using now enables me to send out to an email address or a Facebook message or whatever, send a link that you can click, and then you can connect by way of webcam and microphone and be part of the live show. And that's something, I'll have to, on my end, I'll have to tweak my control board to have all the remote participants, but I think it'd be really cool. So if you want to do that, send me a message and I'll see if I can get a schedule at a time that works for us. Jake says, I would admit I drank somewhat, but not a lot, because I've got a strong preference for rum and brandy for some reason, and whiskey. Yeah, and I didn't show you over there. I've got the Canadian, and in Canada, I'm sure it's not a big deal up there, but when I go up there, they've got the Crown Royal that you can only buy in Canada. So I've got a bottle of that. It's unopened. I love my Crown Royal, man. Y'all have got some of the best whiskey in Canada. You really do. Jake says, I will say rum, brandy, or whiskey are real men's drinks, in my opinion, at least. Yeah, I mean, you gotta. That's the thing. My thing is this. I mean, if I'm going out on a boat or something and I'm not the captain, I'm just going to take a bunch of cheap, like, just watered down beer and just get wasted off of that. But, if I drink otherwise, I'm going to drink premium stuff. And for me, premium is, well-crafted rums, well-crafted whiskeys, well-crafted bourbons. I'm not one to go down to the store and pick up, oh, what's on sale today? You know, that's not me. You know, I'm looking at a very high end, and tonight's the exception. You know, even though I'm not drinking cheap stuff, I'm drinking. It's actually very good. It's Cruisin', which is made in St. Croix in the United States Virgin Islands, but I'm drinking a little bit of Cruisin' with my ice and juice. So, you know, this tier of Cruisin' wouldn't be in my book, it wouldn't be an acceptable sipping rum. But those rums I showed you over there, some of those are very complex with their flavor profiles. So I mean, that's something you can pour just a little bit of that and sip on that. And I mean, it's just the years of you can taste the years of experience that the distilleries put into, you know, crafting that recipe. It's really impressive. Fly Right Jones says, hello, sir. Good to see you. Fly Right, always a pleasure to see you. And I want to remind everyone, we got to get these super chats going, y'all. We had the super chats here in the live show last night, but I'm in the studio and I've got the super chat, the sound of the super chat. So if y'all choose to super chat, this sucker right here will sound off. So feel free to do it. Jake says, oh, the Canadian Crown Royal, eh? That's my favorite whiskey. Man, it's good. Actually, let's see, what is that? Let me get that and see what it's called. I want you to keep me honest because you're from Canada, and you can tell me if it's real or if I got hoodwinked. So I know there's a lot higher end tiers of Crown Royal. I know that, and you know, I completely understand that, but this is the one here that I got. Actually, I got it in the Vancouver airport. It's called Crown Royal Limited Edition Canadian Whiskey. And it says, truly majestic, limited edition is blended with distinguished batch distilled whiskeys to create an exceptionally smooth and rich taste that can only come from the kingdom of Crown Royal. And then it's got this stuff in French. So, but yeah, I haven't even opened this, and I won't for a while, probably until I go back to British Columbia and have another bottle, because I know when I open it, I'm going to like it, and then I'm going to miss it. So, yeah, I like high-end beverages. I don't like, you know, why be cheap? Why be cheap? Why drink the cheap stuff, you know? It's just pointless. So, Fly Right Jones says, just picked up the Mavic Air 2. Very, very pleased so far. Yeah, man, Mavic Air 2, and I've got a lot of videos I'm editing now for Mavic Air 2 and a ton that I'm going to be filming and editing tomorrow. But it has been nothing but impressive. And even, you know, I was expecting the low light performance to be, you know, to make me frown, and it hasn't. You know, the low light performance of the Mavic Air 2 still put a smile on my face, even though it does not have a 1-inch sensor. So that's pretty interesting. Jake says, "Yep, that's authentic bottle. All right, just looks like you took." Yeah, the label's on there. It's just with my camera set up, it was hard to see. But that's the stuff I bought, you know, in the Vancouver airport, and you know, it was the one that said, I forget how they put it, you know, for sale in Canada only or something like that. So I picked it up. I'm like, whiskey, eh? Yeah, this is the good stuff. So I picked that up and purchased that and brought it back. So it's yeah, man, y'all have got some good whiskey there. So it's so, you know, Crown Royal is one of those things that's just got a unique flavor profile. And, you know, I'll be frank and honest. I do not like the Crown Royal Black. That's pretty good, but I don't like the apple. I don't like the maple. You know, they've come out with all of these flavored. I don't get those. I really don't. But I mean, some people like them, and I respect that. But I like the real exceptionally well-crafted whiskey or rum or bourbon. I don't really care for a lot of clear stuff. I don't like white rum. Not a big fan of that. And I don't like clear liquors in general. Whoa. Just checking my notes here. Man, we got, let's see, what do we have here? Jake says, very popular here in Canada and one of the oldest brands of Canadian-made whiskeys. Yeah, it's an incredible beverage. What's your so you had mentioned rum. What's your favorite rum? Yes, I'm still looking at these ultra wide. Jake says, I also like some authentic Russian vodkas as well. Dude, that sounds amazing. Vodka is something that, I've had. That's an area of mine it's totally out of my wheelhouse. So, for me, I can't say that I've ever had a premium vodka. I mean, the only thing, and I know this is mainstream, so you'll probably laugh at it, the best vodka that I had was Grey Goose. and I know there's a lot better stuff out there, but that's something I'd like to explore more, but I don't know, I just don't like, I like dark, I like whiskey, I like rum, I like bourbon, dark beverages. So I don't know if I could ever develop the palate for a vodka. But I do like tequilas. Tequila is kind of the exception, but the only tequila I like is Reposado, which is kind of the darker. I mean, it's not dark, but it's the darker tequila. And of course, I only go with the 100% agave. And I'll do that. That's my summertime beverage, rum and tequila in the summer. But with tequila, I just get the cheap. Not cheap, but I don't get the premium. I'm not a tequila snob, so I'll just get 100% agave. I like El Jimador. That's a good one. I've enjoyed it. Jake says, I don't have a particular rum favorite. The only drink I can't have is beer. It makes me sick really bad. Dude, I could tear some beer up, man. And that's the thing, beer, and I don't drink it much anymore because it's making me really fat. When I'm out on the water and stuff, and not driving the boat, but on the boat, it's easy to drink a lot of beer because you're hot and you sweat it out. But I did a craft beer thing for a while, and I like craft beer, but I'm like, man, this stuff is it's just too much. It's too heavy. It's like I kind of got, and then I just drank the cheap stuff. I mean, full disclosure, man, if I'm drinking beer, give me a Natty Light, give me a Natty Ice, and I know that's pathetic stuff, but give me that, and I'm fine. I mean, that's kind of my my beer thing. So yeah, I don't know, but I just I like on the weekend I like to unwind with the rum or something like that. No, you didn't butcher it, man. I knew what you're talking about. Yeah, Reposado tequila is really good. I tell you, man, it's all about the 100% agave. Because if you get cheap tequila, or cheap anything, cheap tequila, cheap vodka, cheap whiskey. I remember, this is a true story. So this was back, this was probably 20 years ago, but I went with a buddy of mine from college, and we went to a place in Florida. It was called Clearwater Beach, very popular beach in in Florida, Clearwater, not too far from Tampa. So we were there, and we were going out to party and this, that, and the other, and we're getting some booze, and right out of in college, didn't have a lot of cash to blow, so we ended up buying this whiskey, and surprisingly, it was drinkable, but it was hard to drink, but it was called Old Crow. So we got this cheap handle of Old Crow whiskey in like a plastic bottle, man, and that stuff was. It was cheap, but I will say, even though it was cheap, it was palatable, which was amazing. I mean, we had a great time. That was the time. This was back in super early 2000. I think it may have been. It was either 99 or 2000. But we were in Clearwater, Florida, and they were having one of the hotels on the beach where we were. Was having a brewery's convention or whatever. So literally, we had also during the day we had a cooler full of this other brand of beer, and it was the other brand that came out, and they said, "Hey man, we just launched," and it was actually when they had just launched the Michelob Ultra. It had just come out, so that's when we were down there. And they said, "Hey, we don't want you drinking." They didn't say we didn't want you drinking, but they just said, "How about we replace your beer with our beer?" And we're like, it kind of looked at them funny, and of course they didn't replace it. They just gave us this. So we ended up getting all this free beer, just a ton of Michelob Ultra when it first came out, and that was a pretty fun trip. Jake says, I personally prefer British brands of brandy. And I also prefer British rum brands too. English made some good rum and brandy. Yeah, one of my favorite, and it's called Pussers, Pussers. Pussers is often referred to as the Navy rum. And supposedly it was the rum that was rationed to the Royal Navy back in the day. It's really good. Yeah, it'll knock you down, that's for sure. The Navy rum, Pussers, Pussers. Well, everyone, I appreciate y'all tuning in, and this has been a fun live show. I've got a ton of drone videos coming tomorrow. I'm going to film them, I'm going to edit them, and I'm going to bring to y'all just a ton of new drone videos. So stay tuned for upcoming live shows. Stay tuned for those drone videos. Thank you for your viewership. Thank you for your support. Again, all your subscriptions, shopping my website for drones, drone accessories, cameras, supporting my channel on Patreon, patreon.com/IrixGuy, the super chats that you provided during my live shows. Again, being an independent YouTube channel, this is tough. And, man cannot survive off Google ads alone. So it's your support, your viewership that enables this channel to continue to grow. So I appreciate it. And, running, being the one-person operation for a channel, everything from the marketing to the production to the editing to the content strategy. I mean, all of this is very interesting. So, with that being said, everybody be safe. I know we're in the time of the pandemic, so be safe. Do everything you can to be safe, even if it's not to protect yourself. Be safe to protect others. So stay tuned for another live show very soon. I may even have one tomorrow. So stay tuned for that, and a ton of drone videos in the works now, a ton being filmed and edited tomorrow. So thanks for your viewership, and tell me if there's anything in particular that you would like to see me address within upcoming videos, and also if you would like to be part of an upcoming live show, shoot me a message, facebook.com/IrixGuy, and I'll see if I can See if I can get you in face on video in a live show. That'd be cool. So with that being said, y'all, I'm gonna wrap this one up. I am worn out. I am tired today. Y'all have a good day. Hey y'all, IrixGuy here. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to subscribe, like, and share. It's viewers like you that enable my channel to continue to grow. Thank you.